Welcome to Live Sense8. I'm Sheila Applegate.
And I'm Zac Hansen.
And a special shout out to Justin Applegate for the composition of the Live Sense8 podcast music. In this podcast, we dive deep into the concepts of consciousness and other interesting trivia in the Netflix Original Series Sense8. We're doing an episode-by-episode exploration of how we can live a Sense8 life. And we're also talking with cast and crew and team members of Sense8 to hear the experience from their perspective.
Enjoy the show. And this week's episode is brought to you by Divine Phoenix Books. Books with a purpose for a positive change.
And we'd like to thank our new Patreon supporters, Sinal Sa and Singenden Laranen.
What's going on?
In this segment, we talk about what's going on in the world of Sense8 fandom. So, Zac.
Sheila.
We had a pretty awesome weekend last weekend, didn't we?
Agreed. It was pretty good.
Yeah.
Pretty good. I had some tears.
You did a lot of tears.
I had some laughs.
And you had a lot of laughs.
I had some hugs. I had some great food. And I walked into some really fucking cold water, and it was excellent.
That's true.
Yeah.
And during it, we were hanging out with Michael Summers,
yes.
also
AKA
known
Bug.
as Bug.
And his mama and papa, and they were awesome.
They are. What beautiful people.
So beautiful. You can tell I figured out where Mike got part of his zany sense of humor.
Yes, Ed.
Yeah.
Ed has the humor.
Yeah, and you could tell because in the podcast, he's like, it was really important for my dad to know that I became a nice guy. And I see where that comes from because, they're just great people. Good people, people's people,
Yeah, and so proud.
Yeah.
So proud of their son. And you had a little chat with his dad and you talked about the impact that it had on the world. And
I did. I showed him some videos from Martin and had some discussion and just gave him the big picture of why Sense8 is a huge phenomenon and how it's, I got to show him not just from my own words, but these videos of just people being touched all over the world was a really great thing to be able to showcase to somebody.
Yeah, and it goes along with what Michael said in the show because that seemed more important to him than the fact that his son had made it to a television series that was well known. And that really touched his heart. So anyway, it was fun hanging out with him, but that's not even why we went, right?
Right.
And that's not where the tears and the laughter came. Well, maybe a little.
The laughs for sure.
Yeah, we had a lot of laughs.
Crying. I was hanging out with.
But then we went
everybody.
to Heart in the Hood.
Yes.
Which Michael talked about on the episode he did with us. And this is his second in a series about his neighborhood in Oakland.
Yep.
San Francisco area. And the impact that his neighbors have had on him and each other. And wow, my heart is aching with beauty as I talk about it, I guess, because it's uplifting. It's not sad, but it's deeply touching.
Right. Well, to me, he lives in an impoverished neighborhood, right? And so with that, there is sadness. It's a gritty, to me, it was kind of a gritty reality of the way certain people live and the environment they have. So it was this dichotomy of a hard life with lots of beauty involved.
And heart.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So highly recommend that if you ever get a chance to see Heart in the Hood. I am hoping he does Hick in the Hood again sometime because I really want to see that. And then I'm
Me too.
waiting for the third to come out, Michael. And so let's see, we've got coming up in a week or so, just over a week, we'll be heading to Chicago for the screening.
Music Box Theater, here we come.
Yes. So we'll be letting you guys know how that is and hopefully seeing some of you. I do know there's a few of you that will be at that event as well. So that's pretty exciting to meet some of the cast and crew and the Wachowskis, or at least Lana will be there. And all the other fans. So we get to hang with Maximilian a bit during that time.
I can't wait.
I know. We love you. This is just so much fun doing this podcast, Zac.
It is. I really just enjoy meeting so many beautiful people and having beautiful conversations. It's awesome.
Right. So speaking of meeting beautiful people, Martin Erdhart put out a new trailer for the special talking about his journey with the documentary. And we're there in the deep snow for one little quick scene in our backyard. So if you want to know what our backyard looks like in the snow time, we'll give you another image of that.
I don't think it's a really good representation.
No, that's true. It just shows our house in the snow.
Right.
The other view is gorgeous. But anyway, we'll show you all a picture of the yard as it turns green. And we got to show you, Martin, what it looks like here when all the white turns to green, which is happening now. Anyway, very cool new trailer by Martin, and he's still taking submissions for the documentary. So we'll have that link on the Patreon page. And really, it's just taking out your camera and doing a little video of what Sense8 means to you. Or I believe he said he's also taking written submissions. So if you're not comfortable with a camera, don't let that stop you.
And you can find all the details on how to submit your stories in the description of the YouTube video. So make sure you look at the description and read it.
Yes. Read the details. All right. So there's lots of effort going on to promote the special, which is June 8th. And just follow and support whatever resonates with you. People are trying all kinds of different things to help get the word out, get more fans to watch Sense8, with the hopes that will help to open a doorway for another season. Some of the hashtags that people are working on getting trending on Twitter are hashtag Sense8 all 5 season, hashtag Sense8, hashtag bring back Sense8, hashtag give Sense8 season 3, hashtag Sense8 special, and hashtag Sense8 Fridays. So use them when you can, use the ones that resonate with you, and let's see if we can get more people aware through trending. We also want to give a shout out to Sense8 Dailies, who teamed up with the Global Cluster and Blurry Truth to create a flyer campaign. So if you're interested in supporting that, the idea is to get pictures of people holding the flyer all over the world. So reach out to Sense8 Dailies and you can get all the details. All right, we have an incredible guest here today. Let's get this show going. All right, we have Zakia here today, also known as Mumbi Maina. Mumbi is prolific actress, dancer, and producer who has actively starred in local and international film projects since the beginning of her career in 2009. She's best known for her role as Nandi on NTV Kenya's soapy drama Mali and Zakia in Netflix sci-fi show Sense8. Mumbi was born and raised in Nairobi, Kenya, where from a young age she expressed herself creatively through singing, dancing, and choreography. After garnering her first role in 2009, she played Riziki in Unseen, Unsung, Unforgotten, then acted beside Nigeria's famed Rita Dominic in Shattered in 2011. Around this time, she was selected to participate in a workshop with One Fine Day Films, where she had the chance to train with Oscar nominee Alfre Woodard. Her star rose even further when her name became a household one through shows like NTV Kenya's Molly and syndicated How to Find a Husband. She played JoJo in the futurist Keti Keti, a Kenyan-produced and directed film that later won several international awards, such as the TIFF 2016 prize of the International Federation of Film Critics for the Discovery Program. Mumbi featured The Condo, her first Nigerian series, in 2016, and Mascara, a Pan-African drama produced in 2016, expected to go on air in 2018. Casting director Carmen Cuba then handpicked her for the Lana Wachowski Tom Twyker directed global hit Sense8, which is why she's here today. Welcome, Mumbi.
Welcome, Mumbi. How are you?
I'm great. Never been better.
Well, we're so happy to have you here with us. Thank you for joining us.
No, thank you for having me on. It's an honor, really. Thank you so much.
Oh, you're welcome.
So tell us about your experience with Sense8 and just a general overview of what it felt like to be a part of that incredible series.
Wow. Where would I begin? It has been an experience. You know, it's been a journey that I never imagined I would be experiencing the way that I am right now. It's the only way that I can describe it. It has been life-changing for me, and everything that has happened with the show and with the character that I've played has literally altered so many aspects of my life that it's incredible. So I'm really excited to be part of the show.
That's awesome. We hear that actually with each of the actors that we talk to, that the role changed their lives.
Can you elaborate a little bit? Would you like to share about one or two of those things, how your life has changed?
Wow. Well, for anyone who's watched Sense8 knows that it's a groundbreaking kind of series. It speaks of truth. It's not the kind of series that you just watch blindly, like
right.
People say that you want to watch what's it called? Mindless TV.
I was going to list a bunch of mindless TV titles.
It is not the show. It does not work with this kind of show.
Right.
It provokes your thinking to so many levels, and I feel like that's just the experience that every person that's involved in the show. That's what happens to them. It provokes your life. It provokes your thoughts. It provokes how you see people, how you view the world, all the stereotypes that you've ever had in your mind, they're shattered, they're broken. And that's really just what happened for me, to put it in a mild way. We've never had this kind of experience even in the film industry in Kenya, not to this kind of level. And it's opened up our eyes, and we've spoken about so many things that we ordinarily speak about. In Kenya especially. And for me as an actor to be able to portray, a role like this and represent so many Kenyans in this way, that in itself was mind-blowing. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And an honor, really, and humbling at the same time. I loved for the fact that Zakia is not the typical depiction of what Hollywood tends to portray Africans in general.
Right.
And I mean, she's smart, she's strong-willed, she's empowered, she's sexually empowered, she's it. And the first time, no, really, I'm just like the first time I saw when I sent the sides for the audition, I fell in love. I was done. I was just like, this woman, I don't know. But me and her, we're good. Like, we're fine. We're good. We're moving on together. I don't care about what anyone else says, And I just kept feeling like it's time. We're ripe and we're ready for this kind of show and this kind of character to show up on TV. And so when I got the role, I was so excited and shocked at the same time that I don't even know how to describe what I was. I was in daze for maybe 4 or 5 days. I don't remember half the conversations I had with people because I was just like living in a bubble. And I was scared because she's such a heavy character. She has so much depth. There's so many layers to uncover with what she says and who she is that, it's not the kind of character you take lightly.
Right.
So for me, I mean, it turned me inside out. That's the only way I can put it. Yeah, as I babble on and on. I'm a babbler, by the way. I really talk a lot. Carry on.
Thank you. So you said it turned you inside out. Did you feel as if you needed to go deep in and explore? I mean, because we're going to talk about some of the lines, and she as a character carries a lot of weight. The lines are huge, that even sometimes when they're not big lines, they're very provocative. Do you find that you had to go inward and kind of see how you felt about some of the things she was saying and explore that?
Every single line. Yes, I did. The thing about acting for me has been, I've always felt that every character that I've ended up playing has had to, I'm trying to look for the word, but it's reached into parts of myself that either I have acknowledged or not acknowledged, and then I get the opportunity to be that person, whether I was ready or not. And what Zakia did for me was she threw me into the deep end, right? Mm-hmm. And I had to question so many of my own values, my own thoughts, my own insecurities, and deal with them in order to portray Zakia as real as she is, because she represents so many people all over the world, and she represents parts of who I am as well. So it would not do her justice to not honor every line and every part of her character, if that makes sense.
It does.
So, yeah.
And it's beautiful. And thank you for doing that work so that you could portray her with such profound elegance.
Profound awesomeness is how I would say it.
Thank you. Hi, Zac.
Hi. So would you say that then having to dig deep in here into this character and all of those aspects of yourself, so by playing the character, you empowered yourself basically, because you had to dig in to these unknowns or knowns, and then those kind of became who you are now as a person. Is that correct?
She's definitely influenced who I am as a person today. Yes.
And has that helped you in your acting career?
It has. It's definitely impacted me positively in my career, and sometimes it's just good writing and having great directors as well. That just sort of
that helps.
Puts everything together. Helps a lot.
You're trying to carry the team or anything, right? Oh, thank God.
Right. And that's the thing about film. It's like you have all these ingredients, and then you have the pot, and then you have the fire, and none of it works without having one or the other. Did I answer your question? Sorry, I tend to.
Yeah, you did. Yeah. It has helped you as an actor. So
okay.
Has it made you a little bit more fearless per se, and maybe more open to play roles that are even deeper or more out of the box than she is for you?
I would say that. I mean, there were definitely certain challenges that I had with realizing that, okay, I'm definitely going to be out of the box, as you said, right? But I think that's every actor's dream. You want to be out of the box. You want to challenge yourself all the time. I want to challenge myself all the time. Playing just one role and being just one thing is, even as a human being in general, is difficult, close to impossible, right? And she definitely has opened up my eyes. I've stretched as an actor, out of my comfort zone and realized that there really is little that I can't do, and I give credit to Zakia for that in Sense8.
Awesome.
I want to dive in a little bit more about what you said regarding Nairobi not having Hollywood come in that way or representing people from Africa in that way typically. I actually have, and I'm going to let you pick, or if they go together, I actually have two questions with that. One, how do you feel about, do you feel like it did a good job? Probably the best yet. Is that good? Is that still, is there more to show about the culture than, obviously there's more to show, but is there a depth? Are you satisfied with what it showed?
I definitely know that there's so much more, to give. We have so much that if only it could be unearthed. I mean, there's so many layers and levels to what we have to offer to our cultures here in Kenya. And this is definitely the step in the right direction. It's a powerful step. And I think the only way is up from here.
Beautiful. And we need that step to go further. You need that. Yeah. So the other part of that is, do you notice a difference? So with this being more, you were already very well known and you had a lot of accolades in your career already in Kenya. With this and now having that sort of Hollywood fame that goes with it, is there a difference with that experience for you?
Oh, yeah. It's different as night and day. Okay, no, I'm being dramatic. I mean, what I'm extremely grateful for with every role that I've played in Kenya is that, for starters, I mean, I learned everything that I learned on set. I learned while working. I mean, I've not been to school. I didn't have the opportunity to go to acting school here. There are not very many here that I would say, which was part of the reason it was great that I got the One Fine Day film workshop, which Tom Tykwer is actually really involved in. Okay. But, I've forgotten what you asked me. Does this happen a lot? Because my brain is always very busy. So I should have had this interview in the morning. My answer would have been so straightforward. Yes, no, it's that. No.
Sorry, we wouldn't have wanted that. We like the rambling. That's what we're used to.
Oh, yeah? Oh, that's good. Phew.
Yeah. So it's night and day difference. What is it? Give us just a little example of what being a Hollywood famous is different for you in your life.
Okay. Wow. I mean, well, to be very frank, it starts off with budget, right? We don't have the kind of budget that Hollywood does, right? So, which doesn't give the same level of opportunities, that would like to have in the film industry here, the kind of level of support that we would need to create, another Sense8, for instance, right?
Right.
So with having budget, then you get to hire enough people to get the job done. Bottom line. And, having learned everything on the job, everyone here pretty much learned everything on the job, most of the people here. And so you learn to multitask. You can be, you can be an art director and continuity at the same time, you just know how to do everything, which is also great because you work very well under pressure, right?
Right.
I mean, one of the biggest differences, obviously, which came with budget was just the fact that everyone who was assigned to do their job had all the room and space to do what they needed to do, right?
Right.
Which, as a result, produces better productivity, if I can say that. Mm-hmm. Things move faster. I don't know if that answers your question, but that for me is the first thing that it was for me. Because the level of experience that we have here in Kenya, it's there. It's just opportunities that are not as large as Hollywood. So, so there is a vast difference.
Yeah, I would say definitely it's a big difference. Like you said, it's nice to have people around that are on point and aren't multitasking, right?
Yeah,
that is a big deal.
Yeah. And it's not to say that that's, that's the case for every single set, but
Right.
it sort of is what it is, it sort of is just how it goes. The same as a couple of other countries in Africa. So, I mean, Hollywood, you've set your structure from a very long time ago. I think it's when did Hollywood start? I don't even want to know. Okay, cut that out, edit that out, fix it in post.
Okay, we'll do that.
But we might use it as a bleeper.
Bloopers.
Thank you. But on a serious note, I mean, what you're asking is actually really, really important, because what we take for granted a lot of the time is that Hollywood is way advanced also because it's been there for a very long time. Yeah. Mm-hmm. We're still relatively very new in the film industry. And so we still have a long way to go in regards to developing structure and putting them in place and getting guilds and I mean, all of that. There's so much that we still have to get our feet on, right? Right. Yeah. So that's the second answer to your first question.
That's awesome. And I really appreciate you diving into that with us because I think it's important. Sense8 has a global audience, and the more we know about each other, the better the world will be.
Yeah. Thank you for being so sweet about it.
So I want to ask you, we put out some questions on Twitter, which so let's ask a few of those here.
Okay.
We're just going to use their Twitter name and give them a shout out. We have Kaja Sensi Holmstead, who says, what was your favorite part of joining the Sense8 cast?
Wow, so many favorites.
I always think with that question, how am I supposed to pick a favorite?
Yeah, like how do I pick one? There's so many. Wow.
We'll name a couple.
There's meeting Lana. Let's start there. There's meeting the whole cast. I got to audition in Berlin for my final callback, which was great. I'd never been to Europe before, so that was already amazing. I felt like I'd really won. But then going there and then experiencing my first international read-through and meeting every single person of the cast, I think that probably was my favorite moment, the beginning, one off. Let's just say one off my favorite moment. Because everyone was so kind and so warm. I started tearing up every Tuesday. Like, I was just this girl who just randomly go to the corner and start sniffling. I'm a crier. Like, I'm very emotional, yeah? So I was not ready. No one had prepared me for all of this. So I just, oh, wow. I kept telling everyone, I love you so much. Like, I was just like, oh, that girl. Which is great because it's not often that, a dream of yours comes through and, you're not sure how everyone's going to be. You don't know, you assume that because it's international thing and it's all these big stars and, someone might be stuck up or, you watch TV and you just assume that people will be something that they're not. And then you're blown away and you realize that everyone treats everyone so much respect and love and kindness and open-heartedness that, that was definitely my favorite moment, just connecting with everyone. From the minute we met, it was ridiculous.
It is. So we've interviewed a few people on the show now, and everybody's like, oh, man, it's so awesome. And we get to go to the pre-screening or the sneak peek in Chicago. And I'm just, I don't want to have any expectations, but my heart is just already full and just like ready to just pour out when just meeting people from just the experience that we've had, a limited experience from talking to people. And it's just, it's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think that's part of the magic that is Lana, that they go into this, the team goes into this with the intention of setting that and drawing in the right people to make sure that happens. I don't have a lot of experience on other sets, but just so you know, you might have hit the jackpot on your first time in Hollywood.
No, I am pretty sure that I definitely hit the jackpot somewhere. I was like, I did something right in my past life, because I mean, that's why I'm like, I can't even talk about favorites, because I'm like, how do I explain Paris? I can't.
Right.
I can't explain shooting on an Eiffel Tower. I can't. there's no way that I can, start saying that, my first experience was in Paris, and I was shooting and we shot it in Paris. Okay. I mean, what the hell do you say? You just, it feels like you're living a dream. Mm-hmm. But then it's reality, and then it has purpose behind it.
Right.
It's not shallow. It's not just a show for the sake of being a show. It's not a show just there to entertain. It's moving people all over the world. It's empowering people. It's giving people hope. And I don't think there's anything better than giving people a sense of hope about their own lives. Yeah, sorry, I'm back to the favorite parts. Carry on.
So to sum that up, what was your favorite part of joining the Sense8 cast? And the answer is yes.
Yes, all of it.
All of it.
All of it.
Huh? Sorry. Missed that.
All right, so we got another question here from Twitter from Maria Loves Tina Desire. Is that Desai?
The Tina.
It's Kala. I have two questions.
Yeah.
What was the hardest scene to shoot? And does she keep contact with the cast? Are they friends outside of the show? And
okay. Oh, okay.
And please tell Mumbi that I love her. She's very talented and beautiful, and Zakia is amazing.
I love her too. Hugs and kisses, slobbery. Oh, my heart. Okay. Okay. I'll tackle the first one. About what is the most difficult scene to shoot? Wow. I mean, I feel like going back to one of the first things that I said of how Zakia's lines are very powerful, each and every one of them, and I did feel a lot of pressure to not let her down as a character, and wow, wow, this is a tough one. Come to think of it, maybe we should ask what is the toughest question I've been asked in this interview.
There you go.
I can't really say. I found like saying that one of the scenes was tough to shoot because I felt like I took every single scene very seriously, and so I don't know that was tough or great or what, but it just was what it was. But I will say some that I wish I was not feeling or being at a certain moment was when Zakia approached Capheus after he'd gone to her office at the media house, and right before their first kiss. Now that day, I was sick like a little puppy that had eaten chocolate. I mean, it was really bad.
Oh no!
So I was like, it was a really, really tough day for me, and I wish that I was at my best health. It's just that we'd gone out to dinner the night before and felt ambitious and ate some stuff that was probably not the best for us. And so a bunch of us were actually quite sick on set that day. But, the show must go on, right?
Right.
And for me, I think that was probably the toughest day. Let's just put it that way. It was quite tough because
for sure.
I wanted to do justice to the scene, but then I was also so sick. So I hope that answers that.
You nailed the scene.
Yeah,
though.
for sure.
You nailed it.
We would have never known unless you told us.
Well, okay. Well, now you know. Thank you. And the thing is, I really loved that scene because I mean that's when she's most vulnerable with him, and she that's when you really get to meet Zakia. You know, like you're not very like, okay, we've got a feel of who she is, but that's when you really know who she is. Like everything adds up. You're like, this is why she is the way she is. You know, now it makes sense. So that was a very powerful and very tough scene for me to shoot. What is the second question?
Do you keep contact with anybody from the cast or crew?
Yes, I do. They're all
Awesome.
my sweethearts. I love them to death.
That's awesome.
It's good we don't live in the same country, some of them, because I'd probably be stalking them.
They'd
And
be
I think they'll
stalking you
welcome
right back.
Yeah, no, everyone's actually really great. Yeah, so we keep in touch with all the cast members. Well, not all, but you know, as many as we can.
Right.
All right, then we have For the Love of Sense8 Twitter handle. What was your...
You just love those names? Sorry, carry on.
Yeah, there's some pretty crafty Sense8 Twitter handles out there for sure.
Yeah.
They would like to know, what was your funniest moment whilst filming #Sense8 ?
Ooh. I think it was my scene with Jella when I come to tell Capheus about the news from the station. I was just like, this guy, you know, he's so similar in person. Like,
We do know because we interviewed him.
An interview. Like, half the time, I'm just like, I can't even shoot because I start laughing. Like,
Oh, man.
this guy's not helping me at all.
He's so good.
Oh my gosh. And he's so serious when he's so funny. Like, so you just end up sitting there laughing your head off and you look like a fool and you like don't know what to do with yourself. No, he's great.
He was.
Probably one off. Another one, which I have to share, was when I found out, I wouldn't say which cast member, but there's a certain cast member who has, I don't know if I'm giving out trades of the secrets of the trade. When I kept wondering why someone's beard was there one day and then gone the next and then back the next day and it turns out he had goat hair. Like the makeup artist put in goat hair. that was like really funny. You see, I'm like, okay, fine, it's not me, it's just crazy. I found that so funny. I was like, why? Which goats? Like, so many questions.
Where did it come from?
Why are you doing this to my brain? Anyway, yes.
So there wasn't like a goat pen on the set where there's just random goats?
On the plane, the goat's always there.
With a little spot shaved off of it.
Yeah, you know, you're
Lots
like,
of spots.
so you're not having so many questions, but then you're not sure you want to know the answers. You're like, okay,
Right.
Where's the goat now? What's for lunch today? What's going on? You know, like so many questions.
I'm going to have to watch the credits to see if he was part of the makeup crew.
There we go. You're funny. Hilarious. Mhm.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
All right, so let's talk about some scenes. How about that?
Ooh.
Yes. All right, so this is kind of, I'm going to play the clip, and this is your big intro into the series, and it is powerful. So let's roll it.
Tell our viewers why it is that you're called Van Damme.
Have you ever seen Lionheart?
No, I don't watch movies like that.
Movies like what?
Movies that glorify violence. Movies where the white man saves the world.
Lionheart is not about any of those things. It's about courage.
But Van Damme is white.
Yes.
So even if it's about courage, it's about white courage.
I'm sorry, maybe I'm not understanding, but what does courage have to do with...
The color of a man's skin.
All right, so that's what we got.
A little bit spliced.
Yeah, I spliced it up so we could get some more in order.
Got it.
But in my opinion, this particular scene, I mean, it just pulls my heartstrings all the time. But it's so powerful, and here you are, lined up to, this is where they introduce you to ask this question into the show. So this is kind of where I associate you coming into the show with this powerful question.
Yeah.
What is your thoughts on the scene? How do you feel? Like, how did you feel about that character? I mean, that's kind of the beginning of your story arc too, right? In the relationship with Capheus, as he's going to kind of open your heart to a new understanding.
Yeah, I feel that, wow, I mean, it definitely was a very heavy scene. And I feel like she already had preconceived thoughts about what kind of guy this guy was, you know. And I think it's because so many times we've grown up in a society where it's the white man who comes to save the Africans, right?
Right.
And that's been our history. I mean, the history of colonialism, where whatever and whoever we were before was deemed as incorrect, and so their parent came to fix us, right? And I think that she was just coming with the thinking of, out of all the people who are supposed to be heroes right now in this moment, you choose the one thing that we are trying to fight against in order to win back our own culture, who our identity is. And so I feel that she was already just biased to the fact that she was not interested in knowing who he was and who he is. And I feel like in this particular scene, you know, we're basically just showing everyone who Zakia is, what her morals are, what her values are, what she's trying to do in her career, you know, what she's trying to say, what voice it is that she's trying to I don't know, I don't want to say what voice is trying to speak, but what voices she's trying to bring up and the ones that she's trying to silence, right?
Right.
If it makes sense. Yeah, so I really feel that with that questioning, that's just where she was coming from. She was coming from that state of, okay, you're one of those who think that, you know, one race is superior to the other, or we need to be saved, and it's only the white people who can save us, that kind of mentality. And she's clearly not for it. And that's part of the reason, I mean, I love this show. It pushes the limits, you know, it asks the questions that people are not willing to ask. And Zakia is that person who will ask those questions that people are not willing to ask.
Do you feel like, as you were playing the character, do you feel like his line caught Zakia in the heart? Like, or off guard, or threw her a bit to question herself?
I do feel that Zakia was completely thrown. She came with a certain idea of who this guy was and her own preconceived ideas of, you know, what's right and wrong, who people are supposed to be, who they're not supposed to be. And he opened up her mind. And I feel like she had to let go of judgments as well. In the span of a 5-minute conversation, he completely spoke with so much honesty and innocence and truth that she was sort of swept off her feet, for lack of a better word.
Indeed, she was.
He also turned it around with a question to her. You think about reporters usually ask the question, and the people feel there's like a underlining you're supposed to answer, not ask me another question. So just the very fact that she got asked a question probably threw her.
Yeah. And you know, the problem with being asked a question like that is that then you have to answer it.
Right.
And not necessarily to the person, but to yourself.
Exactly.
More importantly, yes, to yourself.
The other thing that I'm thinking with this too is we're discovering that there's always so many layers to almost every single line in this show. And in this scene, it's bringing up Hollywood. Well, it's bringing up the white man and Hollywood with the Van Damme movies at the same time as the show itself is changing it by making the hero, quote, be from every different culture and bringing it out of that and the need to all work together beyond race and have that not be a non-issue as they all team up together. So it's, you know, once again, a depiction of the show itself, even as it's part of the plot.
Yeah. Yeah, and that is the beauty of this show. You know, there are no barriers with it.
Right. Absolutely.
You know? Yeah, I am we, literally.
All right, so we got another clip here. I really liked this one. Sheila really likes this one. You mentioned it earlier in the show, but here we have Zakia waiting for Van Damme on the side of the street.
We now know you're very sick.
Yeah. So I'm going to roll this clip and let's hear it.
Hello.
Hello?
I am looking for some courage. I heard I had a visit at the office the other day.
I shouldn't have come.
No, the guys you met are assholes. They're sons of the rich who play at journalism because it makes for a good chat-up line. Believe me, your left thumb has more value than the three of them altogether.
Thanks. They told me that when you're at college, you wait.
Yes, I loved a woman. It's true. I've also loved men. I fall in love with a person, not their genitals. Which may sound weird to you.
No. Not at all.
Look, I'm not someone who usually talks like a greeting card, but lately I've come to see that luck is something that reminds you how beautiful the world can be, which is the part where I may need some courage. I've not felt so lucky since I met you.
And then Jella nods. Yo, bro, hook her up. Capheus would have been lost without him. Oh, but you entered. This is another. So the first question we tackled was, who am I? And that's when you were introduced. And now this is another groundbreaking scene, in my opinion, because you're introducing the concepts to an audience of people that might not understand that some people are attracted to people and not genitals. So it's a beautiful thing. Yeah, no, go ahead, remark.
No, and I mean, I'm just like, there's so many layers again with that scene. Again, it's because you do get to meet Zakia at this point, and she keeps surprising us. That's one thing that I love about her. I mean, you think that you know her, and then, shock, you don't. You know? Uh-huh. And one of the things that I really love about this scene is not just what she says, but it's even just a symbolism in it. And the fact that before she was mocking the entire thing of Van Damme and courage and the Matatu and all that, and she's found herself in a position where now she's coming to seek courage from the same thing that she mocked before.
Right.
Which just says that there's so much truth there. And in the same way that they kiss for the first time, I mean, the first time they meet, it's in front of the Van Damme. And then the next time, the first time that they kiss is in front of the Van Damme again. I felt that was so symbolic and just so so beautiful in itself.
Right.
But what she says for me is even more. It's so profound because it represents so many people, even here at home in Africa, who don't have the privilege of expressing themselves as openly as the kid does. And that in itself is already groundbreaking. Mm-hmm. Because that means she is a voice. She represents what I talked about, hope. She represents freedom. And that is not something you can take lightly. And then the fact that there's also no judgment, it's a completely non-judgmental zone. There's just freedom, and then there's love and acceptance. You know, mm-hmm. Yep. I mean, we don't know that. I mean, she doesn't know at that point that he has, 7 other people in his head who he regularly makes love with, and
right,
hangs
he's already
out
had every kind of sex you could think of. What does he care?
Just dealing with that half of the time. She's spoken to them but doesn't know. I mean, putting all of that aside, that takes a lot of courage even from her.
Right.
Mm-hmm. And even people that I've spoken to after the show here in Africa, whether it's in other countries or in Kenya, that was one of their most powerful scenes as well. And they thanked me for that simply because that's how deeply touched that they were, and knowing that there's someone out there who relates to some extent.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And I feel like that is the purpose of this show, to give people the courage to be themselves and not feel ashamed for it, because I really think shame is just the first step for oppression, because you're not allowed mm-hmm. to express yourself. and that's a prison in itself.
It is.
And that's what she breaks free from. And I get the feeling that, that's not something that she obviously shares very often, because even just from the scene before where he goes to the office and their reaction towards him wanting Zakia, there's a mockery and there's no respect
right
there, and the fact that she's so brave and so courageous and pushes through the barriers and decides to go ahead and just take a risk. And that's what love is, it's taking risks as well, and being able to feel, and it's a phenomenal scene for me.
Yeah,
Love
one of the beautiful things I think about it too, I don't know how it is for you in your country, but here in America, it's typical that the males need to approach the females to ask for a date.
Mm-hmm.
And we see here in this, now we have an empowered woman who is kind of, she's fragile, right? And she's smart and she's sexually empowered. And here she is asking Capheus for a date. So we have that reverse role from my perspective. Not to say that women can't ask or don't ask men out, because they do, but just in general, that's what it is. So I thought that was another powerful thing too about this scene, and it really shows the power of her because she is courageous to follow her heart.
Yes, she is very courageous, and there's so many courageous women here in Kenya and in Africa, and it's beautiful seeing that on screen, to be honest.
Yeah, it is.
That's how you also teach the next generation to be courageous in who they are, because that's what we were talking about earlier, where we don't see enough African empowered women on TV in terms of Hollywood screens. We don't see enough of those stories, and I think Zakia is just the beginning, because obviously, it's coming up now and it's coming up with a bang, which is great, but I think more and more and more, let's see more and more and more. And I feel like Sense8 is one of the shows that has broken barriers,
Yeah, absolutely. And they kind of actually point this out in the show, and it's a little more and more apparent as we dig through it, because we have Capheus' story, and he's been inspired by Van Damme. And we also have Wolfgang's story, and he grew up with Conan the Barbarian, and that inspired his life. So what the writers are showing us is, hey, you know what? Children really are looking for direction on the silver screen, on television. Yes. So let's change that. And here's a story that's going to change that, right? So follow suit. So I think that's a very beautiful thing that they've done.
And I feel really hopeful about the change, because I think that the generation that's coming, like, this is bringing it forward and it's opening it up. But the generation that's just coming up is even more open to begin with, and they're taking those positions in Hollywood. And, like, for example, my daughter is out in LA now. She went out there for an internship, but she stays at this house. It's called Upstart, and there's people from all over the world there. They're young, upcoming entertainment industry people who live together and play together and create together as they go off, and they all come for different reasons. They're not like all in one program. It's this house that you can rent, and there's more in those starting up. And I think that the internationalism that generation is going to bring to the screen is like, you're opening the door and they're just going to push through.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah. I really think the general population is thirsty for this kind of change and openness, and crossing borders and cultures for the benefit of all parties.
Yes.
Now we got to the generation, but I did want to use this clip to kind of springboard and ask one more Twitter question, because we're talking about relationships and genitals. So
gotta love it,
right? Anna Sense8, Twitter name Anna Sense8, said, first off, let her know how much I adore her character. I would like to know how was the filming of the intimate scene with Toby, and if it was her first time shooting a sex scene, and if she was comfortable with it.
Okay. It was my first time shooting a sex scene. To be very honest, I never thought that I'd be shooting a sex scene this early in my career. I actually thought, maybe like when I'm, 40 something. I don't know. In my head, it just seemed to make sense. But a friend of mine said to me once, we make plans and God laughs. And
Right.
that's what happened with me. So of course I had to mentally adjust my my expectations to my life in general. So yes, it was my first time. 2, in regards to comfort, I am so blessed to have had the cast and crew that I did for my first experience shooting an intimate scene. Everyone was so professional. I don't even know how to describe it. The directors were so great that you may as well have been shooting a scene of eating breakfast. Like it's ridiculous. Everyone is so sensitive to your needs, to your thoughts, to your feelings, that it gives you confidence at least it gave me confidence to shoot the scene without any worries. And once you trust your director, and you've got great directors, I think everything else just falls into place. Yeah. And that's what it was for me. It was empowering, in fact. It was the fact that I get to represent women who look different and show that in a sensual way, with my dark skin and my full hips and all of that. That in itself was a moment for me. And I was very comfortable. I didn't have a problem with that at all.
And it's so beautiful.
Sorry, carry on.
Well, the scenes are just so beautiful. And I think I love hearing how much respect and what it felt like to play that role, to do that scene and have that support of the people around you. But it's felt in every scene. In all of the sex scenes in this are representing something. Well, Wolfgang has a few that represent a less sacred, but
I don't think Wolfgang can do the way Wolfgang does it.
Right. He has a category of his own, but and that's just, I think that's
part of the spectrum too.
Right. It's for the contrast and all of that. But really, to me, the use of sex, someone said to me, they called it like gratuitous sex. Gratuitous sex. And I was like, really? Because to me, there's more purpose for the sex in this series than any other show that I've ever seen. Like it's purposeful, it's evolving, it's invoking, it's important.
Yes, it is. And it's art.
It's art. Yes, it's artistic, like incredibly artistic. Yeah.
It is. I mean, it's literally beautiful to watch. And I'm glad that you said that you feel it every time you watch any of these, because that means it's just basically resonating what we're feeling and it's coming off on screen.
Oh, for sure.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's the point. You're supposed to feel what we're feeling. You're supposed to feel everything the character is feeling. And that's encouraging and wonderful to hear.
It's fun on this side too, as we meet more and more of you that were involved and hear that, because as viewers, you're always wanting to believe that it was as beautiful to produce as it is to receive, and it's not always the case. So it's just it adds this extra amount of love when we hear each person saying that, no, it really was that way.
Yeah, they give you a beautiful environment so you could express yourself in that way and that you felt comfortable, and that's a gift to everybody who got to see the show.
Yes, agreed. 100%.
All right. So here we have another clip, and this is an awesome clip too. This is with you and Capheus. You're having a meal, and he's telling you a joke.
So they came to my house, they talked to me about it, and they left.
Wait, you're telling me the DRP actually came to your door and asked you to run them their ticket?
Well, crazy, right?
And you haven't met with them again?
I'm sorry, I thought you would find the story funny.
I've interviewed Komanyaga. He's a serious and very intelligent man. Why wouldn't you meet with him?
Zakia, I'm a matatu driver.
Which is exactly why you should run and why people would vote for you. I was at the protest. I saw the look on their faces. They trusted you, Capheus. It's ridiculous. I pay a fraction of what it costs you or everyone who lives in Kibera for running water or electricity.
You say there's nothing as expensive as being poor.
Why? Because our government, like every other government, doesn't care about poor people or places like Kibera. But you do.
Zakia,
At the very least, you can agree to meet with them. Hear them out.
And here we have it, another beautiful scene and another layer of your character. And we called this our caption for this scene and the new Jella is born, right? Because here you are, you're loving and you're compassionate and passionate and you really care for him. But now it really shows that you care for him because he brought something out in you, and now you're returning the favor.
Yeah. Oh, I like the you put that. Yes. Ooh. Goosebumps.
Yeah, and it was interesting to, interview you and prepare for that after having interviewed Paul, because he talked about Jella's role and how it shifted when the character Zakia came in. That's, I think, where we came up with that. It's like, because he was all about knowing he kept Capheus safe. He knew there was something special about Capheus, and his job was to kind of give him the space to be whatever he was meant to be. And then you come in and you do the same thing, but you see the potential and nudge him forward.
Yeah. It's funny, but I find that with a scene like that, or with the kind of relationship that they're developing between Zakia and Capheus, doesn't it just make you realize that it's so important to be around people who see the greatness in you even when you don't see it in yourself?
Yep.
Absolutely. Like, even just hearing you say that makes my heart expand.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's something that we don't get to experience very often in our lives. But when you do, it changes everything.
Yeah.
And then you can meet this person once, or you can have them in your life forever. But it's like they're your sensei,
mm-hmm.
In your own way. And that for me was what I found really sweet about that scene, because yes, she's seeming a bit harsh with him because he's just being his typical Capheus, today is going to be a great day kind of thing. And she's just looking at him thinking, okay, let's get to work. It's a great day, but come on, there's so much that I see in you that you're not seeing in yourself. And I think that was what was really important for me in that scene. At least that's what stood out for me in that scene, just seeing that kind of love. I think that's very important for everyone to have, at least.
Yeah,
and not necessarily, romantic love, even platonic love, whatever it is.
Right, to be seen.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
exactly, because that is part of a relationship.
Yeah.
Any good relationship, that is you need to have somebody put you in your place when you need to, or tell you to say yes to lunch, or nod your head to kiss the girl, or whatever,
Exactly. And as
right.
long as, as long as their intentions, that they have your best interests at heart, I think, it's possible for you to do anything after that. You can literally be or do anything if you have the right support. And Capheus definitely has the right support all around him.
And there is something that is powerful about her coming in from she was raised differently. She has a different worldview. So it may not even, it's not even necessarily that Capheus doesn't think highly of himself. He just never thought beyond the environment that he was in. Like, he just never thought of being more than that. He was just making himself happy within it.
Yeah.
And then, even just going into the first time he goes to the apartment and seeing that difference with the coffee, the coffee maker, the books, it's like, that's like just world opening to him. It appears.
Yeah, it expanded his vision. He's stretched. And that's what I think everyone needs at one point or the other. You need to stretch.
Right.
Get out of the comfort zone. Be pushed a little.
Right.
As you said just now. Yeah.
Well, it's also very interesting to me, too, because I know you guys are from two different worlds, but we can assume that you're a pretty successful journalist. You have a nice place to live. And you're a female. And here we have Capheus, who lives kind of in poverty. And so it's just kind of, usually you have the knight in shining armor kind of situation to pull the girl out of the bad situation. And this, they kind of blur the lines a little bit with the physical aspects. You're kind of pulling him up, and he's kind of showing you your inner truth in a way. And so there's this balance that goes back and forth between you. And I just noticed that now, actually, as we were talking over this scene.
Talking is good.
It is.
Talking is good. And in fact, even as you say that, it's also just dawned on me that he is very secure in himself as well, to be with a girl like Zakia.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, because unfortunately, well, I don't know if it's fortunate, I don't know anymore. Sometimes it's just a cultural difference thing, right? But it's, in most places or in most scenarios such as that, the guy might feel a bit intimidated or like, this is, maybe let me make it first and then I'll come for her, or, or let me do this first, or let me try sometimes go negative and the guy might try and put her down, make her feel small in order to make himself feel big. And just shows, it's just a testament of what kind of man he is, bottom line.
Right.
He's got his head on straight. He's very secure in himself. He's, that's just something I realized as well just now, as you were talking.
Yeah,
Thanks, Zac.
Yeah, you're welcome. He has good taste in women.
He does, right?
He does.
Funny.
All right, so we have a couple more Twitter questions.
Dun, dun, dun.
All right, so I'm just going to say this is from Kala Bogdan. I'm so sorry.
You got to watch more Sense8, Zac.
I do. Enunciations. All right. If we could have a third season, what would you like to see Zakia doing? And what were you doing?
Well, let's stop at that.
Okay, let's stop there then.
That way we'll get both answers.
True. You figured out.
I figured you out. Yes.
Like, yeah, this one, cartoon brain. Okay. You see, what was the question? I've already forgot. Oh my gosh!
Oh.
Wow. Seriously, though, what was the question?
I'm good. I'm relished. This is a beautiful interview. I'm having such a good time. This is so much fun.
You're like, wow.
It is. All right.
Now imagine just having a normal conversation with me. Shoo. Bless them all.
All right. If you could have a third season, what would you like to see Zakia doing?
Wow. I mean, obviously, still with Capheus and being a great influence for him. I would love her to have more interaction with the rest of the Sense8s. That would be great. Yeah. Wow.
I haven't thought about this question either, but what I would like to see, so she's actually got a really, she's got a nice YouTube following now at least, and she's a journalist. That's one person they don't actually have on the team. So if you used your influence as a journalist to maybe help expose BPO or something crazy, I don't know, that could be fun too.
Oh, okay. So can I just take your answer and then you fix it in post? I also feel like I'm having difficulty also answering that question because of how phenomenal the series finale is.
Right. I know. I was thinking about that. You have to be careful.
I want to answer the way I would normally answer, but I can't because.
Right.
You guys are not ready. I'm telling you.
Perfect. That's what I like to hear.
Only a few more weeks, everyone.
Yep.
38 days, right? 37, I think.
A little less for us because we're going to the screening. So we got
A week
we
early.
got like 23 days.
Oh,
23 days.
it's going to be a great time.
But, well, you know, if you want to come back after the screening and answer that question, we'd love to have you.
Great. I'd love to. This time it will be video. I'd love to be back on the show. It's great. I love it.
All right. We have another question here.
Yeah.
I think Zac stayed quiet, so I'd have to say this name.
Yep.
Okay. It's at Hansen is the Twitter name. Do you know that we are not giving up at all on Sense8, don't you?
Oh.
Fighting since 2017 and still a lot to do. I just want you to be ready for season 3.
My goodness. Have you ever heard of fans like this ever in your...
No.
Sure.
It's incredible, the impact. I mean, it's the greatest compliment that you could have.
It is. It really is.
I mean, it just... Oh, wow. It just shows how important this show is and how ready the world is for it. You know? It's like ahead of its time, but at the same time, the world is ready for this message that Sense8 is giving. And, you know, once it's like once your eyes are opened, you're like, you want more and more and more and more of it. Because you're like, there's no end to it, you know?
Love is like that.
But no to that. You said it's called Anne. Like that Twitter handle. What did you say?
I can spell it. Niehauscsm.
Okay, so to him or her.
Perfect.
No, I'm not ready to answer, but no. I mean, oh, wow. No. All we can say is thank you. And I know every cast member, crew member, producer, everyone who's involved in the show is so grateful for the fans. It's like everything that we've sacrificed and worked so hard to put together is beyond worth it. Right. You know, it just feels like you feel like you're doing it for your family. It goes beyond just for fans. It's like we've all become family now at this point. So thank you.
Beautiful.
Yeah. Thank you.
All right. Now we have Giacomo Baviro.
Mm-hmm.
I would like to know if there was a particular moment or scene that you feel connected, attached to, and also if you have any anecdote to tell us concerning the cast.
Wow. Any scene I particularly feel attached. Gosh, there's so many. You know, that's a problem or the good thing with this show. It's like you can't just pick one. Like you want to, but you're like,
top 5.
Yeah, top 100 is more like that. A scene that I was in, or
it said it with you or without you.
Yep.
Oh, with or without me. Okay. Wow. Oh, you know one that. Okay, it's a bit of a funny one, but I don't know why. It's what's come to mind right now. One of the scenes that makes me very happy is when Carla and Rajul have finally, you know, the morning after, but it was actually Carla and Wolfgang.
Yeah.
That's a good scene.
And that look on Wolfgang's face, I can never forget it. I'm just like, I was so satisfied. I was like, this guy, you know? And I feel for Carla so much half of the time because she's so torn between being this good girl and all her needs and wants that this guy keeps bringing out of her, and she doesn't know what to do with herself. I think all of us have at one point or the other experienced that. Like, I just feel like on such a normal human level, like you meet someone and you're like, you are bad. I do not want you. I do not. But your body is saying something else. All the actions and his, I find them the cutest ever. I'm very attached to that in regards to that scene. I found it hilarious. But just themes that I'm connected with, I would say, wow. I think one of them is the first time that Capheus enters Zakia's house. Mm. And I what I loved about it is that these are two extremely different people that are showing the world that there are no rules and there are no bounds when it comes to love. And I felt goosebumps with that scene. Just when I read it, I felt like we attach so much to things and ideas and rules and religions and this and that and laws that have been put in this world for reasons half the time we don't even know anymore, because all they do is cause war. They don't really cause love. And for me, that it might have been a very small moment, but it was very significant for me just because it also touched me personally. And I'll share something. I don't usually share it too much, but I will share something. I have known living in wealth, and I've known living in poverty. Mm-hmm. And I have known being in love with someone who is not of my social status, both ways, right? And that for me was just, it's interesting. I say sometimes it's the roles that choose you. It's not you who chooses the role. And that for me was just one of those moments where I felt like love has no bounds, And so I'll pick that one because there are too many in my head swimming around right now to moments that things that I connected with. But I'll pick that for now. Yeah, that's it.
I like that you pick that because it's exactly what you said. It seems like a simple scene, but there is no simple scene here. Like it is so strategic. Everything has a message that will touch our heart, that we can relate to in some way or another in our lives. And because they're portrayed in simple ways, that's why we let them in, like that's why we feel them and recognize them. Thank you for sharing that.
Yes, thank you very much.
You're welcome. You guys are so great. I can't help
I should warn people that I used to be a therapist and I'm a coach, so you might say things you didn't want to say.
I'm ending this guy. Come over. Reach of some contract somewhere. I know.
I probably should warn people now that I'm. You're good. You're good.
Huh. And I thought Zac was the cheeky one. Clearly. So wrong.
So how would you say, living a Sense8 life, carrying that off of the set and into the world, what would you say is your way of doing that? Or what does it mean to you? And how do you ever think about kind of trying to bring that into your life, into your world, and out to the world through your acting?
Oh, all the time. All the time. I can't say I've ever taken a role that I didn't feel impacted me in one way or the other. Yeah. But like I said, for me, I really believe that roles are the ones that choose you. It's not
right.
You think you have the power, and you realize, for me, it changed a lot. It opened up my eyes to so much, and not just necessarily outside the world, but more internally about how I view myself as an individual, about choices that I've made in my life and what were the judgments behind them. Why do I have certain values? Why, if, for instance, I was a religious person, I always I see myself as more spiritual than religious. And I ask myself, okay, when I was more religious, what was, you know, where did it come from? You know, why did I make certain decisions? Why did I treat people around me in a certain way? Why do I today do the same thing? Who are my friends? Who do I want to be in this world? I mean, that for me is a lot of the things that playing the role of Zakia has done for me. And for instance, it was not easy choosing to portray the very sensual side of her, simply because it's something that, for instance, in this country hasn't been done before, at least not in this way. Mm-hmm. A lot of the times what you'll see on screen when a woman is in any sexual encounter, especially an African woman, it will be a rape or violence. It's very rare that it's love. You know, it's very rare that it's consensual. Yeah. It's very rare that it's as powerful as it is with Zakia and Capheus. And that in itself was something that I also had to address within myself. Who am I in relation to this character? What impact will it have on African women who are sexually empowered? After the show is out, you know, what impact will it have on my own life as an individual? And I mean, we can dig deeper and deeper and deeper, because every day is something new for me in regards to Zakia. Sometimes I will meet people who are just so inspired by her role, by simply saying, "I'm so glad that you had your natural hair out." Mm-hmm. You know, things that we take for granted. And I had to ask myself why I chose to go natural, which is something, it's become a movement now. But the truth is, it's an empowering movement for a lot of African women, because for so long we were taught that, you know, what's naturally yours is not necessarily good or beautiful or attractive. And that in itself is already a huge thing on the show. Right. You know? So there's so many layers to, and that's something, in fact, that Lana was very specific about, because she loved me. She's like, "Oh my gosh, your hair, I love it." I was like, okay. I was like, okay, can we all just, it's okay, thank you. My hair loves you too. You know? And those are some of the reasons that I knew this role had to be done, and it had to be done right. And those are some of the things that impacted me after the show came out, because a lot of African women would resonate with the fact that, oh wow, you know, having your natural hair out is beautiful, and we're seeing it on TV now, and it's lovely. So I've had to question a lot of my own values, a lot of my own thoughts about my body, about my life in general. Right. So I guess that's a long answer to you.
No, that's fine. That's very beautiful. Thank you for sharing all of that with us. It sounds like, the whole hair thing, I think it's ridiculous, because you mentioned this earlier in the podcast. You know, those were kind of white man values placed upon your culture, and those values were wrong, right? But then we go on and people believe them, and it's just this total distortion, which causes it's shame, and it's guilt for being in our own bodies, and they're beautiful the way they are. And so it's just it's a beautiful thing that you got to express on the screen for everybody to see, in my opinion. So well done.
Thank you.
Yeah.
You're welcome.
Well, thank you for all that you did with Sense8, and for coming here and being on the podcast. Here in my head, you're sitting right next to us. There is no.
Yeah, I do feel like we're sitting next to you.
You know, we're Sense8s. You are right here. We'll share some tea.
Yeah, you know.
English tea is very good.
English tea is good, but if we go to Kenya, we'll have coffee.
Yes. And you will carry bags of it.
So going to that line where you say that in the show, I had to laugh, because as an American, when I go to England, everybody wants to give you coffee. And for up until very, very recently, it was always the instant coffee, like a spoonful, that you get in a can and then you mix in hot water.
Yeah.
And so I always said no, I was like, no, no, thank you. I'll have tea, which I love tea anyway. But one time I was with someone and he looked at me, he goes, "It's real coffee." Like, oh.
The real one, not this.
It's the real one.
No, our coffee.
So that line in itself was great. I mean, it's like every little nugget. I'm like, oh my gosh, yes.
It is quite a show, isn't it?
It really is.
You shall come to Kenya and I shall give you coffee.
All right. I'll take you up on it. You'll be like, oh, I didn't mean it.
These two look lost. Can I help you?
Yeah. Exactly. I was like, are these tourists? And I don't know. I don't understand what they're saying.
I don't know them. I've never heard their voice before.
Yeah. No, thank you so much for having me on the show. I was really glad when you reached out. It's been great.
Oh,
it has been great. Thank you very much for joining us.
Lots of love.
Love you guys.
Is there anything you would like to, before we close, is there anything you would like the listeners to know?
I love you. Oh. I love you all so much. I feel like literally every day they make my day. Like there's such an outpouring of just openness and vulnerability and yumminess. I like using the word yummy a lot, but I'm like, they're yum. There's some big fans of yum. They're just they're phenomenal, and I love them so much, and that's all I would like to say to them.
That's awesome, and that love is right back at you.
and oh gosh, and the finale is going to be in every way, shape, and form. It is something else. Yeah.
That's beautiful. Can't wait. Can't wait. And we'll be able to, we'll have you back and talk about it after everybody's had a chance to see it.
Yes.
Awesome. Thank you.
Great.
Thanks.
Okay.
All right. So that's a wrap there. Thank you, Mumbi Maina, for being on the Live Sense8 podcast. We had a wonderful time and it was full of laughs. And a big shout out goes to Sarah Applegate for being the editor of the Live Sense8 podcast. If you've enjoyed the show, head on over to patreon.com/livesense8 and please consider donating to the show. If you have any questions or comments, you can always hit us up on the Twitter at live_sense8, or you can email us at team@livesense8.com. Thank you very much for all your support over on Patreon and all the social shares and engagement on social media. And thank you very much for spending your time here with us today at the Live Sense8 podcast. We really appreciate it, and we hope you enjoyed the show. Until next time.